The philosopher Edmund Burke once said, to love our country ought to be lovely. And I think what he meant by that is that we do love our country in part because it's ours. But we should also love our country because it makes possible for us the good life. It offers us opportunity. It offers us a chance to make a better life for ourselves and for our children. Now, I have a cousin in India. Well, he's no longer in India, but he grew up in India along with me. My first cousin, his name is Rahul. And one of his phrases was, I hate India. And the rest of us would look at him like, what are you talking about? Well, of course, India is all we knew. But his point is it's exhausting to live in India. He goes, everything is difficult. You're always having to pay money under the table. Just getting through the day is like tiring. And I do think a lot of us in that generation of the 1960s, 70s, we would identify with that sentiment. Well, America has, for me and for so many other immigrants, been the opposite. It's not exhausting to live in America. In fact, it's kind of exhilarating. Why? Because there are chances all the time to better yourself, to better your life, to learn, to explore new things. And even if you fall down, even if you fail, even if you go bankrupt, you can pick up and start again, which is not easy to do in other places. So the American dream, and again, despite Biden, in many respects, it's still alive, but it is getting choked off. It is getting stunted in places like New York and San Francisco, basically in Democratic-run cities. And I want to turn to the experience of kind of a fellow Indian who came to America, as I did, and came to California, as I once did, looking for opportunity. This is a high-tech guy, and I'm going to refer to him because it's interesting sometimes to go from data to lived experience. What is it actually like for someone to come to California? And this guy, his name is Hari Raghavan. He's kind of a software guy. And he comes to California, he says, because of the following things, quote, fantastic universities, incredible natural beauty, plenty of agricultural land nearby, wonderful weather, renewable energy sources, and a critical mass of people who are both rule breakers and opportunity seekers. So these are he calls it sort of the modern gold rush. This is why people came to California. But he's been there and he's been successful there to a point, but he is now exhausted and he's getting out of there. And he doesn't say where he's going, but he does say why he's leaving. He makes this striking statement. He says, San Francisco today is a symbol of decline. He says, quote, I think it's more inconvenient to live in San Francisco or Oakland than when I lived in Chennai or Bombay growing up. That's quite for someone like me, a kind of a startling statement, because what he's really saying is that places like California are becoming third worldized in the sort of worst sense of that term. Now, he says a year ago, I was smirking at the people moving out of the Bay Area. He goes, I thought, well, where are they going? What's better than here? But he goes, he's come to see that the American dream is no longer thriving in the Bay Area. And he goes on to say exactly why. Number one, he goes, it's hard to feel safe. He goes, in the last 7 years, my wife and I have experienced 4 home break-ins, 1 car break-in, multiple other thefts. And he goes on to say that every one of his female friends in San Francisco has either been accosted or assaulted, typically by a homeless guy, but in some respect or the other. And he goes, of all these break-ins, he goes, I only reported 1. Why? Because, quote, what's the point? They don't do anything about it. Number 2. He goes, there is a systematic animus against business, particularly small business in California. And so you're trying to do something, you're trying to get it done, and they make you into the bad guy. They block you in all kinds of ways, and then they're hostile. They're actively hostile to entrepreneurship. He says they gifted programs in fields like math and science are being eliminated in schools. Entrepreneurs like Elon Musk are literally being chased out of California. He goes, quote, privilege and success, instead of something to be mindful of and thoughtful about, has become something to be ashamed of. In fact, he says, if you build a successful company, the attitude of the California Democratic bureaucracy is this. They say, A, you're exploiting the region, and B, you're not paying enough taxes, even though the entrepreneurs in San Francisco are paying the highest tax rates in the whole country. He then goes on to say that the bureaucracy and animus toward the citizens on the part of the people who run the city, and remember, San Francisco, as California, is kind of a one-party state. So they don't have to, there's no real competition, so they don't really care. There's no profit motive, so they don't really care on that score either. And he goes, over time, they weigh you down. He goes, you fight them, you think I'll get around them, but over time you become enervated, you become tired, and you then say, listen, this is toxic. Why do I need more toxicity in my life? It's time for me just to get the heck out of there. Then he goes on to talk about merit, achievement, and success are becoming a lost cause. Wow. In California, suddenly merit is now seen as a bad thing. Merit is racist. And so success is diminished. He's talking about the social contract, and he says, quote, there's a social contract between government and citizens. We pay taxes and abide by the law, and the government provides social services and governs by the will of the people. So this is a very moderate guy. He's not even all that political. He's basically saying, I'm keeping my end of the deal, and you're not. And so at some point he's saying, look, I can stay and I can stay and I can hang in there hoping that things will get better, but at some time hope itself becomes a casualty, and then there's no alternative but to say, I came for the dream. There are no more dreams here to be found. I need to go elsewhere to search for greener pastures.